Okay, thanks again for taking the time, Dr. Bitzer. This is certainly a major race that is shaping up in North Carolina for the Senate seat with former Governor Roy Cooper making it official that he is going to run for that seat that's going to be vacated by Senator Tom Tillis. First question to you. Cooper has won a lot of political races in North Carolina, but what are his chances in this race, and how does his bid potentially alter the field?
Well, I think this is certainly a U.S. Senate race that's going to command not just national, but probably international attention, because this is one seat that both parties desperately need. Republicans need to be able to hold this seat to prevent Democrats from getting to at least a 50-50 split within the chamber. And for Democrats, it is their most viable chance of winning a federal statewide race since 2008 when Barack Obama and Kay Hagan won the presidency in the U.S. Senate seat in that year. So this is going to command a lot of attention. It's going to receive a lot of money pumped into this state. And I think Roy Cooper is, among the Democrats' best chances to really help flip this seat from Republican to Democratic control.
Now, it was interesting in his announcement, Cooper said the next election will determine, quote, if we even have a middle class in America anymore. What do you believe we stand to learn about North Carolina and its values in 2026?
Well, I think certainly with Roy Cooper's, streak of six statewide elections having been won, we will get a chance to really test North Carolina's almost kind of bipolar political dynamics. At the state level, North Carolina tends to vote Republican for federal offices. But you just move down the ballot to statewide executive offices, Democrats win. This is part of our political DNA in North Carolina that we vote Republican at the federal level, but Democratic at the state level. And I think this is a real opportunity to see if Democrats can truly break that federal stranglehold by Republicans on this U.S. Senate seat. It will be a real close election, as they typically always are, but this is probably setting up to be a paramount election in North Carolina political history.
You kind of already mentioned this. Actually, you hit it head on. I was going to ask you what role could North Carolina play in the national political landscape. So you hit on it, but I think the way that I will kind of change that question now is for either party, if they're able, if Republicans can hold on to the seat, if Democrats can take the seat, what does that say about the national landscape, you think, coming out of North Carolina?
Well, I think with the U.S. Senate being so closely divided, Democrats have a path, but it is an extremely difficult path to try and get to at least 51 seats to control the chamber in President Trump's back half of his term in office. I think North Carolina is crucial to building towards that potential 51 seats. North Carolina, along with Maine, will be two of the Republican held seats that will be up for real grabs. But Democrats also have to try and keep Georgia and Michigan in their win column. If they do that, if they're able to flip both North Carolina and Maine, then they have to win in a traditionally more Republican state like Texas in order to get to 51 and have outright control. So North Carolina will be at the centerpiece of the national dynamic of who potentially controls the U.S. Senate in the next 2 years after 2026.
Cooper, during his time in office, North Carolina expanded Medicaid. I believe the number was more than 650,000 North Carolinians
Yes.
got coverage under that. That was just a few years ago. One of the big critiques with the Trump administration's recent spending package, which became law, was the significant cut to Medicaid. And that was the tension between him and Tillis
Yes.
before Tillis said that, you know what, I'm out of Washington. I'm getting out of this. So, with that said, how do you see healthcare, specifically Medicaid, playing in this race? And which side do you think that will either benefit or hurt the Republicans or the Democrat when it comes to gaining this seat?
Well, I think for the Cooper campaign, this presents a real opportunity to differentiate. Uh, Former Governor Cooper can say, you know what? We worked with Republicans to bring that Medicaid expansion to well over 650,000 North Carolinians. But in this one big, beautiful bill, they are cutting about the same number of North Carolinians getting that health care assistance. So I think it sets up a real, probably cornerstone message for Governor Cooper in his campaign against the Republicans. It will be interesting to see how the Republican candidate, most likely Michael Whatley, will respond to that and see what the differentiation is going to be. But right now, the healthcare advantage seems to lean to the Democratic side in this campaign.
I'm glad you brought up Watley because I was just about to mention him as well. The RNC chair, former lead of the North Carolina Republican Party, is expected to be the person to announce his candidacy on the Republican side. The reports are saying that Trump specifically asked him to do this as well. But with that said, the Republicans in North Carolina, as soon as the announcement came out, they slammed Cooper, calling him too liberal or too far left, and then trying to pair him with former President Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris. What do you think will be the strategy from the Republicans to knock at Cooper for his, whatever he did during his time as government in North Carolina? Do you think there are clear ways in which they're really going to try to get at him on his record?
Well, I think certainly they will go after his record as governor. You've heard already some comments by the Senate Leadership Fund. That's a major Republican organization helping to elect Republicans to the U.S. Senate, go after him for his hurricane relief efforts. So that will be something that will be played up. But a lot of this campaign will be what we call nationalized. It will use national themes. It will use national personalities to do some localized attacks here in North Carolina. And that's where our politics has moved to. We have become very nationalized in our political dynamics, especially here in North Carolina. So I think Republicans will use this nationalization effect to really go after the former governor and put him through a real test. He had some close elections as governor, but this will be one of the most monumental elections and campaigns that former Governor Cooper has been through.
Dr. Bitzer, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share about this announcement? And obviously, Cooper not the only one who has expressed that he wants to run on the Democratic side, but certainly his involvement now certainly changes things.
Yeah, I think for other Democrats eyeing this particular Senate seat, they are probably going to clear the way. You've already gotten some indications from Wiley Nickel, who had already announced for the U.S. Senate Democratic nomination, that maybe he's rethinking this and may pursue local office. So I think with this kind of heavyweight in the race, certainly, Cooper may have some competition, but it's likely the field has been cleared. I think on the Republican side as well, Michael Whatley, with Donald Trump's endorsement, is probably going to clear the field on the Republican side as well. So we may not have as active a March primary as we were all expecting, but the general election will begin basically when Michael Whatley makes his announcement and the two candidates go at each other.
And Dr. Bitzer, timing is everything. I was reminded today, looking at my memories, it was literally a year ago today that Cooper got out of the VP search
Oh,
for vice president for then candidate Kamala Harris, and his quote at the time was, "This just wasn't the right time for North Carolina and for me to potentially be on a national ticket." That was July 29th, 2024.
oh yeah,
So a year changes things.
exactly, exactly.
All right, Dr. Bitzer from Catawba College, thank you so much for being here with me. Your expertise is so welcome, and we have quite the race in store.
We do, we do. Good to see you.
All right, blessings. Thank you, sir.